Every married couple faces the same destructive challenge we call selfishness. But the solution isn't rooted in psychology. It's revealed in astrophysics. So this is another example where we can find science-based insights to help us elucidate the Torah. So we're taking a spin, and you're going to see the interconnectedness of the various parts of astrophysics and how it connects to our Parsha, and then for Imitzar Hashem, God willing, better marriage life, marriage tips, however you want to call it. And my wife was listening to this while she was changing our baby right next to me when I wasn't helping enough, and she was laughing at the cognitive dissonance of me not being selfless enough. So if my wife is watching, I'm sorry. I told you in person, telling you here now. A star without planets burns fuel in the void, lacking cosmic purpose. That's another cool connection. So we're kind of anthropomorphizing stars, but even Johannes Kepler and others, and the Rambam as well, sort of alluded to the possibility and the result, in addition, not directly about stars, that inanimate matter has a nefesh to it, has some sort of life force to it. And so is there a purpose? Well, for this or for that. So it's brought down in Chassidus that everything, every little action, every little thing, a leaf, a stone, whatever it is, has a purpose. And so the question is, if you have a star that's just existing without a planet to receive its light, does it really have a purpose? And there are plenty of stars we think that are like that. And what is their purpose? But here we're connecting it to marriage and a husband and wife. Only when a planet enters orbit does the star find meaning, creating a solar system capable of harboring life. So planets don't really enter orbits necessarily. We're not really sure how solar systems form, but they sort of seem to come from this, in the same sort of cloud where the star formed, the planets were sort of there, and there was an angular momentum, a spin, if you will, to that, and as it condensed, things spun more quickly, and then you had the ecliptic that's formed perpendicular to the angular momentum vector, for those that know a little physics, and then you get the planets. This gravitational relationship is sourced from what Kabbalah calls mashpia and makabel, giver and receiver. So there's a difference. I pointed this out to someone before in real life, IRL. Makabel doesn't mean a taker. It means a receiver. There's a difference there. A makabel, right? To be a true makabel, some people are like, oh, well, so this idea that the mashpia is male energy, and makabel is female energy. Okay? And you have men and women. Now, most men are mostly dominated by male energy, and most women are dominated by female energy. Unfortunately, we see today there's confusion, there's gender dysphoria, there's mental health issues, where, especially from the last few years, where this sort of took off and now it's sort of slowed down. And people who need help, and they're thinking it's normal for a man to have feminine traits dominate them, and for a woman to have male traits dominate them. I'm not saying you can't have some, but what's your dominant role? So a male is a mashpia. He gives, he goes out. And you see the way that, even if you look at reproduction, the whole idea of reproduction, not just men, animals, trees, right? Pollen sends out the male seed to female trees. So the whole act of the male seed going into a woman, and the woman receives it. That's mashpia, giving out, makabel receiving. And also in Kabbalah, the idea of chachma versus bina, wisdom versus understanding. Wisdom is the idea that thoughts, for example, you have thoughts come in your head all the time and they pop in. That's like seeds of information entering your head, and you, in your relationship to that source, bringing it down, whether it's Hashem directly or an intermediate source that's spiritual, that receives, you're the receiver now, and you pick the idea, and then you take that idea and then you gestate on it. You're like, I have an idea, I have to write it down right now, and if I don't, I'm going to forget it. That's that little bit of seed, that intellectual seed that's there, and if you don't write it down, you're not starting the process of bina, so it's not like gestating it. So mashpia, men in general, male energy needs to be a giver, going out. I need to accomplish something. I need to help someone. I need to do something. Makabel is waiting to receive. So a man marries a woman, we have a house. Many women work today, but still the idea that like the man provides the house, provides the money in general. Obviously, there's exceptions to this. And then the woman takes that and makes a house into a home. Right? A man brings home food. Like think back to caveman days. Here's the deer that we just killed on the hunt. Here's my piece of it for my contribution to hunting down the deer, and gives it to the woman, to the wife, and she cooks it. Obviously, men can cook and women can catch, but this is the general idea. So, a mashpia needs makabel. A person who gives needs someone to receive. And if someone receives, obviously needs someone who gives. Also, what are they receiving? But it's a symbiotic relationship. But he can connect it to this idea of a star. So this is one of the novel insights here. Which is the dynamic at the heart of happy marriages. The gravitational secret to successful relationships is encoded in this week's Parsha during the negotiation to purchase Ephron's burial plot. So this week's Parsha of Chayei Sarah is the first time we see real details about relationship and negotiations dealing with the shidduch, with the marriage proposal between Yitzchak and Rivka, or at least with Yitzchak's Avram's servant. And we learn a lot about relationships. I was reading a book years ago on this and delving into every detail and how she waited at the well, how he was at the well and she came, and versus the other girls who were there. I don't remember, it was years ago, but there's a lot of depth in this week's Parsha that deals with the relationships. So now we're going to connect it to Ephron. And Ephron just, okay, it's just another name. But it is something deeper. While Abraham insists on paying full price for Maras Machpelah, the cave of the patriarchs, Chassidus, for those that don't know, that's where Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and their wives are buried. Not Rachel. Rachel, she's in Bethlehem, but the rest of them are buried there, along with supposedly Adam and Eve, and I think Esau's head. So interesting, and it's a source of major contention between the Israelis and the Muslims / Arabs who live there. Not getting into politics, but every year at Parshas Chayei Sarah, they open it up. So a lot of people go there. They have a massive tent and food and everything. There's a huge sponsor. I don't know all the details. I haven't been there. I know people have. It's a very inspirational weekend in Shabbos, from what I hear. Directs our focus to the Hebrew word for dust, afar. This is the root of the name Ephron. So for those that don't know Hebrew, the ayin, fei, resh. So it goes from right to left. I don't know if my cursor shows here. So afar is dust. Ephron, so there's two actual letters at the end, the vav and the long nun. So the root in Hebrew, if you have many times longer words, have the root inside of it, and then other letters either mean something else or just are add-ons. I'm not a Hebrew grammar expert, but afar and Ephron are the same root, dirt, dust, and which has significance in Hebrew, which indicates bittul or self-nullification. Sorry, has significance in Judaism. Gotta rewind for a few seconds because I'm cutting myself off. No one's here to stop me. It's a recording. I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to you. That's what they say in YouTube. You're not talking to a wide audience. You're not talking to 1,000 viewers. You're talking to one person. So whoever you are, thank you. I appreciate you. The fact that you already watched this far in. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe. And speaking of dust, the exact opposite of dust is not exact opposite, but where do diamonds come from? Diamonds come from crushing carbon and dust and carbon, right? Which makes up dirt and dust, and crushing it down to make diamonds. And diamonds are very hard to get. They're very expensive. But recently you've had this lab-grown diamonds, which is you'll take a machine and you'll simulate the process of creating a diamond. And it's much, much cheaper. Much cheaper. And not only that, you need like a very, very expensive machine, of $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 machine to tell the difference. I actually have someone I've known for over 10 years who has been opposed to using lab-grown diamonds. And he's a very good salesman and he's very trustworthy. His name is Ayel Cohen. And his business is the Diamond Lab. Now, the Diamond Lab is located here in Boca Raton, Florida. And Ayel actually lives down the street from me. I've known him for over 10 years. I've davened with him. He's the gabbai of the most popular minyan in Florida. He'll stay in the whole Southeast, the 7:30 a.m. minyan at Boca Raton Synagogue. And Ayel's been in jewelry business and his family for generations. And we were sitting talking one day, and he said, I'm a great salesman, he would say. I sell people. And he said, I couldn't sell people anymore in the regular diamonds. The majority of people came in, were just stuck. We want the lab-grown diamond. It's better quality, it's cheaper, and it looks amazing, and no one cares. And why do I have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars more? So Ayel invested in this. He went full on, and he's seen such a beautiful business that's occurred because of it. And he brings you wholesale prices because he has the means of production. So give Ayel a call today. Whatever you need, ask him. He does everything. You want to sell gold or silver to him, fix jewelry, buy new jewelry, whatever it is. You tell him that Dr. Wolf sent you. He loves the channel, and he'll give you a special discount, a special wholesale discount. I can't say a number because each piece, it depends on it. But let him know I sent you, and he'll give you the family discount. Like he said to me, we're like family, and you can't go wrong. And if you end up not buying anything, at least you'll have a nice conversation out of it. He's a true lover of the Jewish people, and he also served in the IDF. He has a lot of great stories. You have to ask him. Root of the name Ephron, which indicates bittul, or self-nullification, since nullifying one's ego is born out from trampling on dust. But here's the astronomical mechanism the Torah knew 3,000 years. Thank you again to Saragosi and Hassan families for sponsoring. If you like to sponsor, I know there because I have the link. These links you can trace. I know people are clicking multiple times. Just go ahead. And if you have a question, if there's an issue, send me an email. No pressure. People like you have, because you have it, you send it to your family, you have the video forever. I can also send you the full length video, so you always have the MP4 file. You have it. It's not just like sponsoring a class with just 10, 20, 30 people there and maybe sharing on some little podcast. Thank God, not only is this platform reaching more and more people, but the way YouTube runs is that a year later, your next yard site, this video could be at 5,000, 10,000 views, right? YouTube is a long game. And so all these people are now seeing that you are the one sponsoring this in memory and honor of a loved one. So reach out. There's the link in the description below, and I'd love to talk with you, and we'll see what we can do. Before science proved it. Ancient stars burned extremely hot for only a short amount of time, since they contained almost no dust. That's an artist's rendition. It's a beautiful one, but we don't have pictures of actual stars like that. But we have the blue drawing to B's and O's, but it's very possible it looked like that early on, but probably more so blue. And we're going to get into that soon. Why? Is that these big stars only lasted for millions of years, tens of millions of years, according to the natural way of looking at scientific evolution, even from a solar system perspective, but for sure life, that's not nearly long enough in order to harbor life. And so these star systems are so, I didn't get into it in the video, but think about that person that's so hot-headed, right? It's a good expression. He's on fire, and everything you do, it's like a big, massive boom. Everything's just, how long? First off, God forbid, but unfortunately, they'll get like heart attacks or strokes or something because there's too much like energy. The kli is not fit, the vessel's not fit to contain them. It's very sad. And who can be near them? They're just so like, it's so much. So that's what these stars are like, and they die out very quickly. But because, and I did not get a chance to get into the article, but when you have a star that explodes, we spoke about it, I think, in Devarim way back. If you've been following that long, wow, thank you. You're officially a super fan. If not, you can look back at some of the old, go back in the playlist, you can see. So the stars, nuclear fusion, so up until iron, these stars will form up until iron. You cannot go past iron because of, now you're testing me, I'm testing myself. It has to do with binding energy. If you look up a binding energy graph, it peaks at iron. So the gravitational pull in you need more energy to put in. Like it's not energy conducive anymore. So the only way to get all the elements after iron is from a supernova explosion when all the pressure, okay, so in a star you have gravity pulling in and you have thermodynamic/nuclear pressure pushing out. And there's a balance there. And depending on not just how massive it is, but what other elements are inside the sun or the star, it will determine, that rate, how long it will go for, what that conflict is like, the back and forth. So as you add in things beyond hydrogen and helium, because in the early universe was all hydrogen and helium, I think trace amounts of lithium. But after that, you had in stars that they were forming through thermonuclear reactions. 4 hydrogens gives you helium, 3 heliums gives you a carbon. There's all different types of things going on. You get all the elements up to iron, all different processes. And those, when there's a supernova explosion, so all these stars over 8 solar masses approximately, will go into a type 1 supernova. And it will go, I don't have the sound effects here. And, sorry. And they will mix, and you'll get clouds, what we'll call nebulae. Nebula is the singular. And then other stars, and all start mixing and shooting out. Like Mashpia, kind of, actually. Didn't think of that. They get mixed, and then you have heavier elements in there. So astronomers call anything after helium a metal. They're not really metals, but it's just less than 2% of the universe is made of them. And to astronomers, in many contexts, not all, but many, we don't really care. But there are some that do care. And the ones that care are like stellar physicists. And they care a lot about metals and dust and other stuff like that. So that dust and those metals, those create the later generation stars, which are mixed with that. And there's a lot of helium and hydrogen around. And then when those stars are there, because of those intermediate dust particles within the star, and we're not talking about a few. I mean, percentage-wise, it's a few, but it matters. It will change how hot the star gets and how long the star lives. So it's almost like a Bittel buffer, if you will. So instead of that hot-headed guy who's just like, rawr, so you have this dust, this Bittel that's built in, as we're going to get to soon. It contained almost no dust, while more recent stars that formed from dust-enriched clouds allow for stable solar systems. So it's nice, by the way, I tell my wife this. Yeah, I didn't use much AI in this because the real pictures are so nice. And these are stock photos. But people have already been making stock visualizations of astronomical phenomenon for a long time because they're so beautiful. But because of that, I didn't really need to make as much original content in terms of the visual for this one, which saved me a lot of time. Capable of harboring life-sustaining planets. Whether it's stars without dust or a spouse too focused on themselves, both situations require dust or self-nullification in order to facilitate a meaningful relationship. My wife laughed out loud when she heard me listening to the audio levels before I finally put it out. Rivka, I love you. If you're even watching this, I don't know if she will. So, how do we transform our faults in order to nurture a healthy environment here on Earth? The mashpia needs the makabel just as much as the receiver needs the giver. Okay, so what I did there, for anyone who's interested in the AV, that was actually manicure with a green screen. So I put that because it's like holding hands, and then the planet. So I wanted it to be blurred. So the effect I was using the blur, it kept unblurring. So I had to cut it into 3 segments and just keep re-blurring it, and then I let it fade right here. A sun without planets is without purpose. A planet without a sun is lifeless. Marriage works through this gravitational dance. The husband's role as mashpia finds meaning only when his wife receives. Abraham modeled this bittul not as submission, but as recognition. So that's an important point. Just because you're a receiver doesn't mean you're a doormat, you're walked over. Bittul also doesn't mean that. You play an important role. If you're taking something and you're forming, so idea in like creation, you have bara, to create from nothing, bria. Your 4 worlds, let's go to the 4 worlds briefly. There's higher and lower, but there's Atzilus, which is like emanations. It's one with Hashem, really, almost close. Then you have bria, which is when you start getting certain things that a bara created something from nothing. Then you have Yetzirah, which is formation, the world of formation. And now you're starting to get sort of molds and shapes, right? Think of like a cookie cutter. And then you have Asiya, which is where you start actually making something. So imagine you had like a mold to make cookies. This is just a general example. So first you have to bring in the dough and the flour and the sugar and whatever. I don't know. I don't bake. My wife bakes. And Baruch Hashem, she enjoys baking. And then you put everything together and into the mold. So you have a general mold, and then you start doing things other than that to actually make it yourself. Right? So now it's actually made as something unique. I need what you're offering, and my receiving provides an essential purpose to your giving. Positive sentiment override demonstrates that couples who view their relationship as we're both fortunate rather than who's contributing more report significantly higher satisfaction. In your next disagreement, practice gravitational bittul by asking, how does my spouse's contribution complete mine? Each act of recognizing mutual influence stabilizes your marriage's orbit. This personal practice prepares the world for Mashiach, when all relationships will reveal their true source. The infinite divine presence finds expression only through the finite human partnership of Torah and mitzvahs. So do you get that connection there? My wife said earlier, the earlier part, she's like, that's not fair. I never call on my wife so much in a video. I really don't think she's going to watch unless I tell her this. Then she will, and she's going to be embarrassed. It's okay. There's no picture of you here. The idea is that just like mashpia needs a makabel, so Hashem being ultimate mashpia of the giver requires us to receive, and then our reciprocal action of doing his mitzvahs. So he gave us the mitzvahs to perform, but the way we're mashpia on that is that we perform the mitzvahs and return that God like comes down, but then returns back to him. So that's sort of the idea here, is that it's all mirrored in that deeper relationship. This week's video is sponsored in love and memory of Avraham ben Eliezer by his children Frank. Okay, thank you so much. I forgot to mention to like, subscribe. Where do I do that? Neshama, have an Aliyah. Reach out to make a tax-deductible. It's still in the description. Donation. I really don't bite. I'm nice. I'm a nice guy. I promise. And remember to sign up for my newsletter so you don't miss the sneak. So I have to apologize. I've had people on the newsletter since July. I finally sent out newsletter recently. And I sent out the Devar Torahs now. And I have people clicking not just from the emails, but also finding me on Substack. And you get to read it, and you get my insights, and you can interact and leave comments there. And it's great. And my first email, over 60% of my email list clicked it. I think that's high. You tell me. If you're already, by this point, you probably opened it. And if you had signed up and you hadn't seen it yet, go check your spam folder or promotions folder, because it's probably there. And if you still don't see it, leave a comment. Let me know. We'll figure it out. Peek of my upcoming Torah and Science book. I don't know what happened here, but there is an idea of something called a cosmic ray that can mess up with electronics. I think it messed up, and I don't know what happened to my eyes and my glasses. I don't know what happened here, but I was like, what? I've never seen this before. So I paused it and I added the static. And click here to see similar videos in the Torah and Science series. Lastly, click on the share button. The share button is very important, because when you click on the share button in the app or in the desktop, like on your browser, it allows YouTube to see that you are interacting to the point that you're sharing this with someone else. And then actually that has like a question mark SI equals, that's session ID, I assume. And that actually tracks how many people clicked from your link. So if, let's say you sent it to a bunch of people and 5 of them opened it. YouTube's like, hey man, you're a big contributor to sending other people to YouTube, and you really like Dr. Wolf's stuff. So we're going to send Dr. Wolf's video to more people. And it's because of you. So it's a reciprocal relationship, mashpia makabel. And I've heard from people they love these videos. I hear from secondary sources. People tell me I get so many comments back when I send them to others. I said, so tell them to comment. He goes, they don't want to comment, but they tell me to tell you. So let me know, because you have much more of a relationship with me than I do with you. But I want to hear from you. I want to interact with you. right? Sign up for the newsletter, leave a comment, and let's communicate. Starting the idea also perhaps to come out, give talks or Zoom, something if people want to help build their, how would you say it? To build their, not resilience, conviction, religious conviction. That's one of the things I'm trying to help people do for logical thinkers. And to spread these unique insights with family and friends. I forgot to hit subscribe. I didn't mention it. Subscribe. If you're at this point and you haven't subscribed yet, it takes 1 second. Just do it for me. Okay. Thank you so much for making it this far. Share with others. Hit that subscribe, like, comment. It really, really helps. Thank you, and I'll see you soon.